Hey, it's Dan Phillips here, and I make videos for projection mapping hobbyists. And in this video, what I'm going to be doing is taking a look at the masks creation, which I usually do in Photoshop, but in this day and age, it's always nice to have a comparable free option. So this time, I'm going to show you how to make your masks in GIMP. So let's go ahead and get ourselves started. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a quick overview on GIMP. GIMP is an alternative to Photoshop. It is robust, but it is not quite as robust as Photoshop. And there are some limitations, but when you're not paying for anything, I can deal with some limitations. So to get GIMP, you would go to gimp.org, GIMP.org. And right now, at the current time of making this video, the most updated is the 2.10.30 version. So I'm not going to go over how to download because honestly, if you can't figure out how to download, projection mapping might not be for you. Haha, jokes aside, but you click on there, you download just like any other program. So I'm going to pull up GIMP, and this is what it will look like when you come in. So as we look at the GIMP interface compared to the Photoshop interface, let me pull that up there. It looks pretty similar, right? You have your set of layers on this right side. You add your layers with the buttons down here. Over here you have your toolbars, and you have a nice big open space for your image preview. So let's go over to GIMP and take a look. You have your layers over here. You have your adding layers, organizing your layers. It's all right there. It does have brushes on the side, and that could be set over like that in Photoshop as well. But over here you have your toolbars. Now, one thing you'll notice that I noticed off the top is that the paintbrush tools over here are in a different spot, and there's no a bar across the top. So that's one thing that I did notice, but honestly, it doesn't really matter because in this instance, you're not going to be using it. So I have already created my housing template, and if you haven't done so already, I do have a video that goes off of that. And I saved mine in a ping file, and no particular reason other than that's just how I usually save it. Ping files do retain their transparency, so it really makes it easier to use in that way. So I guess I do pick ping for a reason. So I'm going to go ahead and convert this. This is just asking about a color profile, and that's okay. So I'm hitting convert, and there it is. There is my humble abode. Now, you will see this little eye over on this side. This eye says that it's visible and not. And just like in Photoshop, it had something very similar. Look, it's an eye. It's almost like they copied. I'm not going to tell them that they did, but it seems very, very suspicious. So here's your eye to turn this on and off. Over here on this side, these are your brushes and different tools. And the brush tools right here, this is one tool that we'll use. We'll also use this tool, which is the fuzzy select tool. And if you look, it kind of looks like a magic wand, which is very similar to Photoshop once again. Now I can see right now I have my scroll bar here, so on the bottom. So that's showing me that I'm not seeing my entire image at once. So I do want to just zoom this out a little bit. And 45 works for me. Now I can see the gray around the outside. So let's get started. I have my template. I have the idea of what GIMP looks like. And we talked about the brush. We talked about the magic wand. We talked about the layers over here. So we're going to go ahead and create our first mask, should I say. So I'm going to create a new layer by clicking this new layer button. and you'll see that it's going to prompt you with what you want to name it. So I'm going to change my layer name to Whole House Outline, which is there, and I'm going to leave all the rest alone. One thing that might be good as you're doing this is just keep an eye on the resolution and make sure that matches your projector's resolution. This is a 1080p resolution there. So I'm going to click OK, and now you'll see that I have a new one here. Just like in Photoshop, you have to select your layer that you are going to actively work in. So when I select my layer, I can see the color change, and it changes later. GIMP, it changes darker. Okay, that shows me that it's selected. So to go ahead and do my selection, I'm going to use the magic wand or fuzzy select tool, which they call it, and I'm going to do my selection. Now I'm going to click on this just to show you, and I'm doing this incorrectly on purpose. So I clicked, and you can see the marching ants. That's actually the technical term for it. This selecting marching ants that went around the outside. That did not select anything on here. Now, why did it do that? It did that because I was not selected, or I did not have my housing mapping template selected. So now that I have this selected, I'm going to click up here in where the sky would be, which I want to turn black or whatever color. I will click on that, and now my marching ants go around the house. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click up there, and now I'm holding Shift, and you'll see once I hit Shift that a little plus sign comes up. That little plus sign shows that I'm adding, and I want to add this space over here because this is going to be a dark space as well. So I want the whole outside of my house black, and I also want this space black as well. So I held Shift and I clicked, and you can see that I added this portion along. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click over to my whole house outline because now I want to paint this section that color. Now, this will default and it will start off as black and white. And to change these, if you want to, you can click on black or whatever box it is, and then you can go ahead and change anything in here. Now, a lot of you might go ahead, and it's pretty common practice to go ahead and start filling this in. So I'm just took my brush and I'm doing some squiggles across, and that worked out. So now I have one mask done, and I can show you. I'm turning off this, and I can see that there is a black surround and a transparent part on this inside here. That's exactly what I want. Now, I'm going to show you a couple different things that could make your life a little easier. Here are some tricks that I have found along the way. One trick is I will usually have a set of black maps as well as a set of Chroma Key masks. So here is my Chroma Key Green, and the hex code is 00B140, and you can put that hex code right in there. It's the HTML notation here, but usually it says hex. And where did I come up with that? So I'll show you where I came up with that. So that is in Safari. I just Googled Chroma Key Values, and it comes up. There's a blue and a green option. Why would you use one versus the other? Well, if your image or video that you're trying to chroma key has a lot of green colors in it, I usually will go over towards the blue. If the video has a lot of blues in it, I usually go towards the green. I just go one to the other to have a nice strong contrast. And these are the codes that you would use on either one. So that's one thing that I do. And why do I do that? Why would it work out to have a layer that is Chroma Key Green? Well, you can key it. So if I'm going to go ahead and create a comp where I want just a video playing in my garage, but I don't want it to mask out any of the other spots. What I would do would be to create a pre-comp, use the green mask, and then when I go ahead and put that comp in that's masked, I could just chroma key that green out. So, and then I could use that mask and it would be a essentially transparent masked video or image, which is very, very useful. And I'll show you that in a different video. I'm just not going to go into all of that in this video, because this video we're talking about the masks. So one thing is that I use the Chroma Key Green or blue. The next tip that I would use is, instead of going through here, which you could possibly miss a little spot and then that would throw it all off and you would have to start this all over again, go over here, and this is where you can change your brush. So size, I'm going to go ahead and bring that nice up and big, and you can see that it is getting bigger as I drag it over. The larger you get, the easier it is that you don't have to fill. Now I'm going to change this back to black just to show you the next thing. Another thing that you might find is when you download the program, if you're finding that is doing something like this, kind of like it's spray painting on there, that's because your hardness is low, which is called something different in Photoshop. But to fix it in here, you just go to hardness, change that all the way up to 100%, and then you get your nice crisp lines instead of your feathered lines. So those are my two major tips for you. So now I have my mask and I can just show it just like that. Let's do the chroma key just so it's nice and green. All right, there you go. So now I have my mask there and I'm ready to export. So I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to see that there is no export option in here like there is over in Photoshop. So how do I do it in this? To export it in this, there isn't a good way to bulk export. So you really do have to do it one at a time, and it's going to export exactly what it sees on this screen, minus any of the selections. So if your screen looks like this, when you go to export, it's going to have the green as your mask going around the outside, and it's going to have your template in here. You don't want that, that's not going to be useful. So turn off your template, go ahead up to File, which unfortunately you can't see, but then I'll go down and I'm going to Export As. Once I get into Export As, I'm going to click the folder that I want it to be in, and then I'm going to go ahead and choose my name for export. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go up here and I'll change out this part and I'll put in whole house mask. Now, I'm going to point out that there is a date in here. I do keep my masks dated because they do develop over time, and I do store everything because I'm a little bit of a hoarder, but it's always nice to have the dates there so I know that I have the most up-to-date masks. So I have my 2022 February whole house masks, and I'm going to click on export. It's going to give me another screen. All of these you can leave normal, and then I'm going to go ahead and click export, and then it is done. Alright, so now it is time that I'm going to take you through an entire process of creating a new mask, but without all the interjections. So for this mask, what I am going to do is I am going to choose the second floor, so just this second floor space, and create my mask. First step, what I'm going to do is click on the fuzzy select tool, and I will click into here, and you will see that this whole space is selected. The next thing that I'm going to do, this is the space that I want it to be, and I want everything else around it to be the different color. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go into select and invert. So when I do that, it's going to change my selection to this outside portion. So now that I have it inverted, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose my green, which should already be there unless you clicked it out. I'm going to create a new layer, which you can click right down here. I'm going to change this to second floor, siding, and then click OK. Now I'm going to grab my brush and I'm going to make it nice and big and cover over that entire space. Then I can turn this off and I can see that I have my mask completed. So now my video, when I put it in behind this mask, it will only show up in this transparent areas, not even on the windows. So I'm going to export it. I will hit File. I'll go down to Export As. I'm going to change the wording. So this will be second floor siding mask. Export. These are all okay. Export. And then I am done. In the end, what you're going to end up with is a set of masks that you are going to be able to use in your video creation. So I'll bring one up for you. Here is my first floor siding, and you can see that this area right here is a clear area that it will show through, and then all of this green is what it will hide. So I hope this video was informative for you. I hope it gave you a free option to do something and maybe save you a little bit of money. Thanks for watching my video. Don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, add something down into the comments if you have any questions or concerns. You can always reach out and take a look at different tutorials and options that I have on my website, which is holidayprojectionmapping.com. There's a lot of great information there, and it is free. So take a look. Thanks, and I will see you in my next video.